What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. How's everybody doing out there? I'm Alex. He's Dave. Monday, August 12th, 2024, episode number 101. Dave, what's going on, man?
Still trying to fill that void from the post-Olympic letdown, but every day's getting easier, and I will find something because we have Diamond League coming up, I think, 22nd, so we'll be right back at it.
We will be right back at it. And, I'm looking at our intro video there. I might have to update it.
You might have to.
I was putting on all our favorites and things like that, but, I don't know. Cole Hocker making that inside move may have to jump in there.
I think Cole has ingratiated himself onto our intro video.
It's incredible, too, because one of my friends who went to Marist, who ran for us over there, great runner for Marist, he was at Paris. He has a video. He's on the long side and he's looking towards the straights going away from him. He has the video of Cole making the move on, getting miffed up, making the move, completing it, and then watching it. It was a cool video. He shared it on Facebook. So today's going to be an exciting show. Yes. If you are watching YouTube, X, Facebook, wherever you are, number one, thank you. We appreciate it. Number two, if you'd be so kind, smash the like button on YouTube, subscribe, go click that button. And then also, if you're on Facebook, give us a follow. X, give us a follow there or repost. And the most important thing is, if you're watching this right now, go ahead and text somebody, call somebody up and be like, hey, you're missing Talking in Ovals. It's 9 o'clock on a Monday. What are you doing?
That's right.
Throw it out there. Get us over here because we always have the best guests. So before we jump into the fun stuff, got to give Adam Nalvin, our buddy, a shout out like we do every week until it comes up to it until he tells me to stop. We're going to do it. Third annual River Rock and Run 5K, Saturday, November 16th. It is over in Jersey. It is a new and improved 5K for either a solo runner or you could partner up and each run 1.5 miles. All the proceeds, 100% of them go to fulfill the Monmouth and Ocean County Food Bank right in time for Thanksgiving. There's some food at the end. There's some drinks at the end. So go have a great time, have fun running, go to a good cause. And you know what? You're a runner, right? Get a T-shirt, get a pint. That's
yep.
Get a T-shirt, get a pint, enjoy your day. So before we jump into this week's show, last week's show, we had a ton of fun. Justin Stafford, 2024 Olympic trial bronze medalist in the men's hammer throw. Should have been at the damn Olympics. But we had a real fun time talking to him. Yes. Learned so much about the world rankings.
Yeah.
So if you're curious on how that type of stuff works, go listen to that episode because Justin just educated the crap out of us. So we enjoyed that. But this week, we have someone who I think could end up being one of the most important people to the sport, which is crazy to say because we've had some freaking legends on this show already. But this individual could end up being very important to what the sport is going to become, what it is in the future, and I think he's striking at the absolute perfect time. He is Zig Ziegler. He is the sports kinesiologist and the CEO of Z Athlete Factory. What is going on, Zig?
Well, my man, thanks for having me on the show. It's a fantastic day over here in Las Vegas.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think you're striking at the perfect time with what you're doing. And we're going to get into what you're doing. Because right now, even pre the Olympics, the past two worlds, especially in America, people started to notice how deep we were. And more track fans were being bigger about it. Noah Lyle stirring up controversy. And people sitting there going, and people that like both basketball and track were kind of like, he's got a point, guys. So, it's interesting what's been going on. And I think you're striking at the perfect time. But what I want to do before we get into anything is it's always great when we have guests that are kind of, semi outside the running sphere, but you're not. You are fully in it because you have a running history like a lot of our guests. So I want to ask you, what was your spark when you were younger that made you want to become a runner? Not, I don't want to hear most of your memories yet. We're going to get into those. But what was
that one thing?
What was that one thing that was like, you know what? I want to do this for a long time.
Ooh,
that's a good question.
If there was one thing, I can tell you what got me started first, and then what really honed me into the fact that, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this, and it's a pretty good sport. And plus, I don't have to get hit like I did in football. But I was a sophomore in high school, and in PE class, we did that president's fitness test.
Yep.
and we had to do the run. And I crushed the run, and the PE teacher was the cross-country coach.
Uh-huh.
And he comes up to me after class, and he says, "Hey, you're pretty good at this. Why don't you come out for cross-country practice?" And I'm like, "What's cross-country?" And he goes, "Well, we run a little bit, and then we compete on Saturdays." And I go,
"Oh, the lies of a cross-country coach." I'm watching.
So I go to practice that next day, and I go, "Okay, what are we doing today? It's going to be awesome." Well, we're going on a 5-mile run. All right, I could do 5 miles.
Yeah.
Little did I know, we had this kid on the team named Tim, and I grew up. Tim was one of the top runners in the state. I think he was third in the state that year in cross country.
Wow.
And was like a sub 16-minute 5K guy.
Okay.
First day of practice, I'm like, I'm just going to run. I had no idea. So it started. I'm at the front. I'm leading Tim, and he's looking at me like, "What are you doing, sophomore?" And he's a senior. And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just going to keep up with you." Well, needless to say, that 5 miles, about halfway in, I'm running out of gas. I get lost on the way back. I'm the last guy back because I was crushing it in the beginning.
Yeah.
But I was hooked. Even though I was dead last coming back, didn't know where I was going, I said, this running thing, I kind of like it. And so it turned into cross-country meets on Saturday. And then, we finished the season. I got to compete in the state meet. That was okay. Yeah. But the next semester, I transferred, and they stuck me in the 800. I was like, no, that's not it. Because they're like, you ran cross-country. And I kept seeing this hurdler guy. We had this hurdle guy, Case and Jewel. He was a 13.4 hurdler in high school, had a high school record. Wow. And I said, I want to do that. So I talked the coach towards the end of the year into letting me run the 300-meter hurdles. And I scored and lettered in the 300-meter hurdles in the conference meet. And that's when I knew that track, not just track, but hurdling was for me. So I went on the next year. I ran the 300 hurdles and the 110 hurdles. As a senior, I ended up third in the state, and went on to Oklahoma State on a full track scholarship, all because of that one day in PE class. Yeah. I got hooked.
So it all happened to you really, really quick. Like it was a very quick journey, because sophomore year to college, it's a very small time. So you got really, really hooked. That's awesome.
I got hooked. I guess I was what you might call a natural. I don't know. I was just a tall, skinny, lanky kid who could run, and I really enjoyed it.
You got a scholarship in about a year and a half. I'd say you were a natural.
Yeah, I'd say. And
it wasn't OK State. I mean, it's a great job.
So where are you from? Are you from Oklahoma, or did I see somewhere you're from Arkansas?
I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas. Hall High School. A lot of legends came out of there. Sidney Moncrief in basketball, Leslie O'Neal in football, and got to Oklahoma State, and it was fun, but it wasn't for me. So you know what I did? I wound up transferring to a small school in Colorado, Western State, which was a track powerhouse at NAIA, and still today in Division II, competing against Adams State. So I got to compete against Joe Vihill's guys, a legend in coaching and track and field.
Absolutely.
But that my days at Western Colorado were fantastic. And after that, grad school, coaching, just loved it. So I just fell in love with the sport of track and field.
I love that because, we always tell the athletes who listen, you don't have to get caught up in saying you have to go to a D1 school. There's, especially in this sport, there's opportunities everywhere. And most of every meets, your D1 guys are going to run against your D3 guys. It's all based on skill and time. It doesn't matter what school. It matters, do you like that coach? How's your rapport with that coach? That's what matters more than anything.
And it absolutely translates. It translates too, because I remember I ran at Marist. Marist is D1. I saw D3 schools. I saw if we went anywhere near Pennsylvania, there was like 7 million D2 schools, because every D2 school in the country is in Pennsylvania, it seems.
Stroudsburg, all those places.
Yeah, it's incredible how many D2 schools there are, but you get your JUCOs, you get your NAIA. And like Dave said, if it depends, it ebbs and flows, right? With some of those schools, if you have the talent to go to these big meets, you bring them. And the thing is, and you want to bring them, and as you bring them and other schools start to see, like, what's that school right there? Yeah. And then they get to talking, and that's kind of how it works too. And, so it doesn't, like Dave said, it doesn't have to be, I don't go D1, I'm not going to do it. Like, no.
And I'm glad
you got to go everywhere, man.
I'm glad Zig mentioned it. Shout out, because I said for years that Adams State could have won the D1 cross country championship. Many years, I feel they were just
powerhouse,
juggernaut.
Yeah.
Now you have NAU, like another small school, NAU. Like you don't have to be at Stanford or Colorado to produce great athletes and have great teams.
No, I think a lot of athletes, and this really kind of goes for all sports, because I've been blessed enough to work with athletes in all sports throughout my career, and I've told them all, just what you said, Alex. You find the coach that you have the right relationship and the environment that you're going to thrive in, first and foremost academically, because at the end of the day, track and field hasn't been one of those sports where you can make a lot of money. There's always been the haves and the have-nots, and we've heard stories over the last year and a half, from the World Championships, track and field athletes who are quote unquote professionals, yet sleeping in their car.
We've had them on our show.
We had 12 athletes that competed, that were on our show that competed over at the Olympic trials, which we're super proud of, that we had that many athletes that agreed to come on the show to do that. When I tell you, if you ever get a chance to go back and watch some of those episodes, some of the stories that we heard of individuals that, we heard them at the meet and stuff, that they were just working to pay to train and survive, not even necessarily eat. We had some
living home,
were malnourished because living home and
just to get their gym. And
I mentioned to Dave how it disturbed me that Allie Wilson is there running the repechage round, and right as it starts, you have, before she went off to Paris to the Olympics, she was a nanny for a family, and it's like such a throwaway comment, and it's like, wait a minute, we're watching one of the fastest women on the planet that had to be a nanny pre-going to the Olympics. Like, there is something wrong with that.
She shouldn't have to have any job except train like every other athlete.
And it's so normalized that you tell these little stories about the track athletes and, the cute little track athlete going to run in their Olympics and then
a little poor
away for 4 more years. Like, it's just something that, and I think it's something Dave and I are passionate about, trying to get these athletes paid. And it's something that you're obviously passionate about because one of your projects. So again, I'm hinting at it, doing a good host thing. We're not getting into that yet though, because I want to have some of your greatest memories that you've had as a runner, because you talked about some of your friends' PRs, right? I didn't hear you talk really about yours. You said you did states, you won states, you did this. You weren't telling us how fast you were. So what are some of your favorite memories from when you started running over, in high school, junior high, all the way through all the colleges and stuff that you went through?
Yeah, no, yes, I can tell you my most memorable moment was the first time I dipped under 14 seconds in the 110 hurdles. And
14.
Yeah. It was actually after high school. I competed in summer track, and summer track back in the late 80s isn't the same as it is or wasn't the same as it is today. So I was at this meet in St. Louis. It was an AAU meet, and I'm going, all right. I've been running 14-1, 14-2, 14-1, 14-2 all year long. And finally, I get in this meet, and all the other competition that I had run against throughout my high school career, none of them were there. So I got these new guys from Missouri and all over that part of the country. And the gun goes off, and I'm in first place instead of slightly behind the guy that's in first place running 13-8. And I get to the finish line. I won the region championship, and we go over and we look, and these were fully automatic time meets because there weren't very many of them, but this was a regional championship, and they go 13:88, and I go
fully automatic.
You didn't just break it; you smoked it.
Yeah, woohoo! You don't need those 13.9s. We're gonna skip them.
But it was that. And you know what the secret for me was? I'm 6'2" and I got long legs. The secret was I started to train on the higher hurdles, on the 42-inch hurdles. So I ran 13:88 over the 42-inch hurdles. And then I got into my freshman year, same thing, was able to continue to have that success and still stay under 14 and qualified for the U.S. Junior National Championships, went down there and finished 5th. Kelly Carter was fantastic, and Steve Brown, who was a guy over at Wake Forest when I was coming out of Oklahoma State. And those guys were running, but there I was, able to compete in the 110 hurdles. But interestingly enough, I was actually a better 400-meter hurdler. I just hated to run that far.
So you hated to do an 800 basically, because I couldn't the 400-meter hurdles to basically the same effort as it is to running.
I'm so glad that you're on, because I have a question. Because here in New Jersey, in high school, we run 400-meter hurdles.
Yeah.
How was that transition from high school to the 300? because a lot of states still run 300 from the 300 to the 4. Is that last
'cause in
100?
college, it's
Is it a
universally
difference,
4.
or is it just kind of same race? You just kind of go, or can you notice that there's a definite difference with that with the extra 100?
Well, for anybody that's ever run a 400 flat, let me tell you, it is not easy, to make that transition, and you can see it nowadays. Nowadays, you get a guy that's a really fast 200-meter runner or 400-meter runner, and you stick him in hurdles and you tell him just run as fast as you can. They've got bad form, but the focus is just on running fast. Well, I was a hurdler, and so for me, it was more about techniques than it was the speed. And but yeah, it was quite a transition, that extra 100 meters. But I can tell you this, I ran 38 flat in the 300 in high school.
Very fast.
Or 300 hurdles. But when it came to the 400 hurdles, all of a sudden I'm running 35 through the eighth hurdle. So it was having a coach. My coach at Oklahoma State was Jim Bolding, who still holds the world record in the 440-yard hurdles, partially because we don't run them anymore. But, he was a legitimate 48 flat, 48, 2 guy. And he taught me how to run the 400 hurdles. So I loved it, but I love the 110 hurdles that much more.
Right.
So here's a question that I have for you, and this is kind of off topic a little, but one of your titles is a sports kinesiologist. So obviously you went into kinesiology as something that you enjoy. And I find this with a lot of your really good hurdlers, because you guys are so technical with starting out of blocks, and your feet have to be, you're counting your steps, and you guys more than anyone, maybe high jumpers are kind of equal with you guys in terms of knowing your body, right? Every step that you make, every motion
triple jumpers too
has to have a purpose, right? Yeah, there can't not be a purpose when you're especially a 110 person or hurdler. Is there a correlation between UC hurdlers and wanting to then go into these types of kinesiology athletic training? Because one of my best athletes at Marist, because I coached there for a few years,
interesting.
He was amazing. He was a very good technical starter, didn't have the top end speed that we really wanted. He'll tell you that too, but he was just a technician. So his technique won him a ton of races at the collegiate level. And now he's a really good athletic trainer. So do you see a correlation between your top end hurdlers and your kind of technical people wanting to get into that field?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I do talk about that all the time on my show. I have over the years. Us hurdlers have a tendency to focus on attention to detail. Yep. And it's that attention to detail that then is a nice offers or provides a nice transition over to being able to work with others and share that information, because we're taught attention to detail. We then focus on attention to detail. So when it's time for us to then, if we go into coaching, we focus on attention to detail. And there's a lot of folks out there who say, look, your technique isn't going to win you any races. Well, that's not exactly true.
Ask Noah Lyles about his start.
Yeah, you gotta have the right mindset. You gotta believe you can. But I say this all the time too: your body can only do what your mind wants it to achieve when it's physically capable of it. Yeah. But we as human beings find a way to compensate for our strengths and our weaknesses. And if we don't address the weaknesses, they will come back to bite you. And in the form of fatiguing before you're ready to fatigue, injuries that cause setbacks, and then you're essentially taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward. So you can still get there, but when you can focus on attention to detail and you notice, what's that one flaw I've got in my hurdling technique? Well, my trail leg isn't getting over fast enough. Okay, right. Why?
I'm not popping it as hard, or I'm not driving it forward when I should. I'm letting it lag and things those nuances.
So, you know what? I can see that. Because you guys have to be so in tune and technical with your event, I can see that correlation over to, what career that you might choose, because you spend all this time studying the human body and how it moves and best way to conserve energy and get your foot down.
And it's funny.
I can see that.
And I'll give him a shout out. Hakeem Cunningham was the hurdler I'm talking about. And one of the things with Hakeem was he was a master at starts. And even me being a collegiate coach, coaching sprinters, we'd get some freshmen, and if he was there, I'd be like, Hakeem, starts now. And he would coach him I'm not afraid to sit there and be I learned from Hakeem. He was a fantastic starter. And again, he was a technical guy. And that's why
you have to delegate, man.
He was an amazing athletic trainer. And I want to give Lance Miller, thank you for the comment. This will be a game.
And we will get into that. Yep.
Yep, from Coach Lance Miller. We appreciate you watching, Coach.
So Zig, I'm fascinated by this. Being a 110 hurdler and a 400 hurdler, what are you thinking now when you see what's going on the last 3 or 4 years in the 400 hurdles? Like, are you as astonished as the rest of us, or do you see it differently? Like, are you as excited for where this event's going or where it is as the rest of us?
Oh my goodness. Yes. You know what? Look, I've been saying for years that we have a tendency in the sport to teach to what's been achieved.
Yep.
You know, if you look at, the 100-meter dash, for example, is a great example of how much the playing field has leveled. I mean, 991 is 8th place, and so
we're looking at 978 and we're just like, not that fast. It's like a 978
because we had Bolt, right?
Yeah, because we had Bolt, but you've got so many guys. But then you look at the 400 hurdles, and I remember when Kevin Young,
46, 7'8", was it 7'9"? I mean, that was forever.
78.
I didn't think that would be broken in my lifetime.
Nope.
No, you know what? I knew it would be broken, but the challenge is you have to have an athlete and a coach who's willing to do what I call is let go of following the status quo and allowing the athlete to push themselves and find their own rhythm. But we tend to teach to the examples that come before. So if an athlete like Usain Bolt or Karsten Warheim or Rai Benjamin, we go, oh, they can run that fast. I want to run that fast too. Why not run faster?
Yes.
And here's the thing, too. Like you said, with Michael Johnson, everyone when Michael Johnson was the it guy, everyone was trying to be like, okay, he runs more like a 400 guy as a sprinter. Let's do what he did. Let's emulate him. And then Usain Bolt comes along and it's like, oh, wait a minute. He runs different. And now everyone's trying to emulate them. And like you said, it's more emulation of what these athletes are doing instead of, like you said, okay, I have, Zig as my athlete. This is his body type. Mm-hmm. This is the way he runs. This is what he does. How can we maximize what he does? And can we find a comparative athlete to maybe mirror him and not necessarily, because there's amazing athletes that aren't necessarily at the peak, but they are fantastic. And I also mirror them to get great. Go ahead, Dave.
I also feel that in the past, we've had more people run the 400 hurdles or people who couldn't compete in the 400, so they went to the hurdles. We're now having your Sydneys and your Eyes who are 400-meter runners who choose to do the hurdles. So I think there's a difference in the caliber of some of the athletes too. Like it's 400-meter runners who choose to run the hurdles, not someone, I can't make it in the 4, so I'm going to run the hurdles, leading to maybe slower times. We're having those.
I want to see both of them run an 8 so badly. I really I could see
Sydney can run a 153.
And Rai can run a 143. I'm convinced he can run a 143. And that's without really super training for 400-meter hurdle training. I think if he just rides along, he'd run a 143.
Yeah, and I think Sid too.
100%. 100%. Look, I was at Oklahoma State. My roommate was Mike Bennett. He was a distance runner out of California, 415 miler coming in. And so as a result, my friends were all the distance runners first and foremost. So I'd go to cross country meets with them. And when the indoor track started, hey, we need a 4th for the 4x8.
There you go.
So there I was on the 4x8. So I could find a rhythm and run 159, but I didn't want to train to run, 155 or 153 because those guys ran a lot. But yeah, I love that right now people are saying, no, I want to be a 400 hurdler.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now do you think there's something to that we're having more of the better, faster athletes choosing to run the hurdles rather than the other way? Being forced to run them?
Well, I think a big part of it is there's so much competition in all of the other events. So if you can take someone who's got decent speed, some flexibility, which I've got some challenges with because I see athletes and I'm looking going, man, they're so high over those hurdles. Even Sydney, with as great as her technique is, I think her trail leg comes through too high. And as a result, she's probably losing, let's call it 0.05 seconds per hurdle.
She could be sub 50.
Easily. First of all, I think she would have been sub 50 if she had been challenged this past week because she just ran that. And you could see her keying off of Femke Bol.
Yep.
And then she got to the 150 mark and said, okay, I'm done.
I'm going to go. And then Anna Cockrell's like, I'm going to go too.
Exactly.
Ran so well. Man. So here's another question. When it comes to your athletes that are maybe a 200 guy and maybe can run the 4 well, but never really liked it, is the advent of coaches really putting in cross training, giving these kind of sprint athletes more confidence with their endurance. Because it was typically the old fashioned mentality of you have your 100, 200 meter guys, you work a lot of starts, you work a lot of, 90%, you don't really bring them too high. You don't really let them do maybe a 300 pyramid, like nothing crazy, right? Maybe let them touch a 4 if they're a 200 guy. But now with cross training, you can get these individuals on bikes. You can get these individuals doing so many different things. Do you think it's a confidence with endurance that your sprinters of yesteryear maybe didn't have to sit there and go, man, I don't have the endurance to run a 4, but now they're sitting there and they go and they maybe do a 4 in like a workout and they're like, I said a 4 in 55. I can run this, and that was the end of my workout. I'm fit. Is there something to the cross training that's making these sprinters feel more fit and maybe feel like, okay, I can go attack a 400 hurdles?
Look, from a kinesiology standpoint, I talk about the 7 or 8 physical performance factors: balance, coordination, strength, flexibility, endurance, vision or mindset, and technique and power. We're seeing so many more athletes who are physically developed and have more focus or have not had an opportunity to train and spend more time focusing on some of those other physical performance factors. Look, I'll be honest. I didn't lift weights in high school. I barely lifted weights in college. And because I was from that, or my coaches were from that mindset, no, you don't want to restrict yourself. So athletes are so much stronger than they were. Yeah. And as a result, they're able to do more. But you're right. Look, 100 meter, 200 meter guys back in the day, hey, we need a 4th for the 4x4. They were hiding under the bleachers. They were
running sub 10s over to get away from there. They were 12-second guys running sub 10s to get out of back in the school.
You betcha. But now that has really allowed the sport to flourish and athletes to become more diverse in what they're capable of. And when they just open their mind and allow their body to do that, look, the 400 helps your 200. The 200 helps your 100. The 400 helps your mile.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah! So
I love
you got to mix it up.
Quarters as a miler, they were so fun.
So many milers in high school run that 4x4.
Yeah.
After you run the mic and back, and then
if you have a 420 guy, he's dropping a 53, 52, and that's a 51 guy. 51 on a 4x4 in a high school. That's a solid number to throw in your 2 or 3 slot.
Oh, look, I had a kid over in Arizona when I was coaching over there. I wasn't coaching his high school, but he was one of my athletes in our sports performance facility. And, he came in and said, I'm a cross-country runner. Well, we did an analysis on him using our technology, and it showed that he was losing 45 seconds per mile. That's how much he had room to improve. And I said, look, you're going to run that much faster. And he looks at me and he goes, his name's Drake. Drake looks at me and he goes, yeah, right. This guy's crazy. Well, we go to run the cross country meet and I'm like, this dude's not a cross country runner. He's actually an 800. He's not a sprinter, but he's an 800 runner. He was about 6'2", had the right body type. I said, he's an 800 meter runner. So he didn't drop 45 seconds in the mile, but he did go from 217, I think, down to 159 in the 800 in that first 6 months. Now he's off in college.
40-second improvement.
Yep. He wound up running 155 in high school. We trained all through his summer, and I even gave him some things to do at the start of his freshman year. Wound up running 154 indoors. But you know what it was? It was I didn't train him like your typical 800 runner. When I say typical, I mean the majority of coaches train your typical 800 runner with just mileage. No, we ran 200s in meets. We ran 100s in meets. We ran 400s. And that speed allowed him to benefit from the strength he had from cross country, even though he was like an 18-minute cross country kid. Yeah, he was a 155, 800 meter runner less than a year later. Come on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think we talk about lifting and you not lifting. I think lifting programs have also really been
way better now.
Since the 70s, 80s, where before it was like, okay, get in the weight room, do your Olympic lifts, get out. Maybe do some auxiliaries, get out after.
Or hey, every sport do the same thing. Now it's a lot more track specific. People know how to train muscles, and if you're like, how to work on formulas. Like everything is based upon
it's event specific too, down to all that. It's
just
like so it's like
drills, all these things. Yep.
Yeah, and you're getting different things that you need, like an 800 person, and you would find out, right? Is this person a 800 person? Are they an 1500 person? Are they a 400 person? That you kind of put them in their fields,
right.
And your 800 miler is not necessarily going to need the same thing as your 400, 800 person. Like they're going to need some different stuff because one's basing it off fast twitch, the other's basing it off more strength and endurance. So there's so much that goes into that side that we're getting now. And I think we're giving coaches more ability to research this stuff and to know about it. And
there's way more information out there.
And a little more leeway to experiment too, to be able to do those things where it's not so stringent and strict. And it's been really great for the sport.
Zig, I got one. Sorry, I got one more.
Let me just throw this.
Absolutely.
Let me just throw this before you ask that question, and that is the single most important thing that you can do with the majority of athletes. And there's some studies that came out in the 80s that said, hey, look, don't do static stretching. Well, it depends on who you are. And from a kinesiologist standpoint, one of the things that we had to look at is who should not do static stretching. And if you're hypermobile, no, static stretching, shoot, we probably want to take away some of your flexibility. But if you're somebody that has poor flexibility, or if your strength training program has you lifting so heavy that you lose mobility, you are going to see yourself experiencing more injuries. Look, I look at a fantastic athlete. One of my favorite athletes, in fact, is Anna Hall. But Anna Hall has had so many injuries. And if you really watch the way she runs, her mindset says, I'm going to get there. And she muscles her way down the track. And if the focus would shift to addressing her flexibility issues, where she needs to improve flexibility, not just general flexibility, but specific flexibility, Anna Hall will make us forget about Jackie Joyner-Kersee. Look, Jackie Joyner-Kersee is fantastic, greatest athlete, female athlete in our sport of all time. But Anna Hall has tools that even JJK will say this, that she didn't have.
Yes, JJK is her biggest fan. You saw her with the trials, rooting her face off for her. It was, and Parker Valby, I think, is the perfect example of this. She battled injuries for so long, switched to more of a CrossFit style. I don't think she runs more than 40 miles a week as a 10K girl. And she doesn't need to because she's CrossFitting so much. Go ahead, Dave. Sorry. I know you've been holding it.
I was just going to say, after these Olympics, I've been having a debate with my friends. Being a coach, do you see Tebogo as more Bolt or MJ? I think he's more MJ, a 2-4 guy. What do you think?
Interesting.
He's young, so he has time to work on that.
I just thought just watching him run that 43.08 just looked so effortless.
Yeah, I honestly think he is more of a 4-2 guy, which means from what I see, that's a kid that could run easily sub 43, probably closer to 42.5 or so when he really starts to figure out, okay, what do I want to do? And remember, he's only 21 years old. There's this thing, as we get older, we call it old man strength. He's still a young kid trying to figure out his body. And when his muscles and from a training age standpoint catch up to what his mind believes he can do, that kid's going to be phenomenal. Remember, Usain Bolt at 21 wasn't the same as Usain Bolt at 27 or 26.
And I think at 21, he ran a 45 in Jamaica. He ran that 400 meter at the Jamaican Championship.
He didn't like it.
He hated it, but he ran a 45 open on his own. And I think he won like his U23 championship. So, I mean, there is a lot of room to grow. And again, since Bolt was the master of the sport, training, philosophy, technology has increased exponentially. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where that goes. I just want to throw this in there. Abby, thank you so much for your comment. This is my coach, and he is awesome. I love seeing that. I love seeing the athletes showing love to their coach. So obviously you're doing something right there, coach. But I want to jump in now to why I think a lot of people have joined in to watch the show. And anybody watching YouTube, X, Facebook, once again, give us a shout out wherever you're watching. Share the show with your friends. Smash that like button, all the good jazz. You are doing something. And, I said this beginning of the show, and I'll share it. So when I first saw what you're doing over at Z Athlete Village, I was scrolling through Facebook, social media, is kind of doing my normal American thing of just not caring about the world. And I scroll across, and on like one of the random runner pages that I think was even just recommended, I see this big ad and it was like biggest indoor track in the world. And I'm like, all right, looks cool. Yeah, whatever. I clicked on it. I looked down. I'm like, a little too good to be true. Don't care. Whatever. Then I see it again. And I'm like, all right, let me look at this a little more. And I dig into it a little more. And I'm like, I looked at the website and I'm like, okay, this website looks legit. Like, and I start to look at it and I'm like, this could be freaking awesome. So then I sent that to Dave and Dave is like, what is this? And I was like, it looks cool, right? And he's like, it looks awesome. If this is legit,
this is the greatest thing ever.
Really cool. And I want to share the screen up here. I want to see what people are talking about. And I've shared this before, just so you know, Zig. We've shouted this out on the show before because we thought it's something that could be super revolutionary for the sport. Like we actually believe a ton in it. So this is what you have going on. It is the world's biggest indoor track, and we shouted out the specs and stuff before. Let me full screen this here. And so I just want you to talk about, number one, why? What is your reasoning for wanting to make an indoor track that has a 400-meter flat track, a 200-meter track that can fit in between, 4 long jump hit, triple jump hits, 4 high jump hits, 4 pole
cryotherapy,
4 shot put weight throw areas, cryotherapy, and that's not even talking about the 2 other buildings you want to be in the village. So give us a little rundown about why, number one.
Well, why? To fill the void that it's necessary, in
Great
particular in this part of the country. You know, I got to go all the way back to grad school at the University of Northern Colorado. I had this facilities design class, and they said, go ahead and design a facility. If you could build your dream facility, what would it look like? Well, I'm in Colorado. You know, I'm a 400-meter hurdler, and it snowed a lot. And so when it came time to train, we were limited. So I designed this building that could fit a 400-meter track. Now, back then, you know, indoor track wasn't what it is today. Yes, we had some great meets in LA and New York, you know, but we had these 160-meter wood tracks that you'd run on, that you'd get splinters on if you fell. You know, it was just these horrible facilities. So this was 1994, and I said, look, this is what I want to do. I want to build this indoor track facility. So I designed it. Well, years later, COVID happens. I'm in my sports performance facility, and I'm looking around going, wow, there's nobody here. Landlord comes to me after it's time to open back up, and he says, all right, Zig, what do you want to do? You can catch up on your rent and go ahead and let's start up again, or you can walk away and I'll forgive your rent payments and you can go do whatever you want to do. I said that one. And then I said to myself, okay, what am I doing next? Well, what I realized was I'd spent my career consulting with professional baseball teams and basketball teams and really doing a lot with athletes and rehab and technology and all these different sports. But I hadn't spent much time in track. In fact, I hadn't coached a high school or a college track team since 1999, when I sent my last athlete off to run the 800 at University of North Carolina. And so I started to I said, okay, I'm going to start a track club. And I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I started going to the high schools and colleges all around, and no one would rent me a track to start a track club. And their excuse was, well, the football fields are being rented by football teams and soccer teams, so we don't want the liability of you using the track and having a ball hit a kid.
And I don't want you to cut you off real quick, but this is something Dave and I have talked about that we want to see, right? You're doing exactly what Dave and I, we want to see more youth track programs where you're introducing kids to the 1, maybe through 8 at a young age, 15 to 32 higher, throwing the implements and things like that. Or we found out you could say ball when you call a shot put. We've had multiple shot putters call it a ball. So throwing your shot put ball, But this is frustrating to hear that you're trying to do exactly what we want to, and you're being stonewalled for what? A sport that has a lot less insurance risk, I'd imagine, than football, than soccer, than basketball.
Public high schools open up your track to let these groups in. I'm not saying open it up to kids riding bikes.
As long as they're willing to pay insurance.
If there's a structured, why not? Like, it's just helping the whole community.
If they come in with their own insurance, what is it bothering you? Like every other private youth league, right?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot less risk. It's running. Sure, you got hurdles and jumps, but I think they think, pole vault and, javelin. And yes, those are some are more
Most of those leagues don't even vault, though. They say, we're just not going to vault,
Until maybe
which we weren't going to. We were going to hurdle, sprint, and jump, and do distance running, but we couldn't do it. So I then I said, okay, I'm going to find some land and I'm just going to build a track. And I called this agent and he says, oh, that's very interesting because I've got some guys that are looking to do a sports facility, mostly focused on swimming. And I bet they would love to get involved with you. So they introduced me to them. We started looking at land in Scottsdale. Weren't a lot of options. We did find some, but later decided it wasn't the right place for us. And here's what we realized too. I'm getting ready to build this outdoor track in Scottsdale, Arizona, and put a lot of money into it. And we would be able to use it 6 months out of the year. So from a business standpoint, we said, okay, why don't we put a roof over it? And so it turned into, all right, now we're going to build this indoor track that is enclosed, and we're going to run the programs ourselves. And, like I said, we realized Scottsdale didn't work. We looked at Texas. We spent some time down there, had a great relationship with one of the municipalities. We're going to build this 300-acre sports complex, mostly focused on running with a cross-country course up to 10K and this big indoor track facility. And then tornadoes started to roll around.
Oh, no.
Said, yeah. I don't know if I want to build this big building and run the risk that a tornado comes down in Tornado Alley here and says,
"Oh, let me confirm price." But I could imagine we're talking about prices with B's starting. So I'd imagine you wouldn't want a tornado ripping through that because I know just how much it costs to lay a track down. Not a facility, not brick and mortar buildings, not a swimming facility, not a gym facility that you're also adding. So I'd imagine
a high school track, a 6-lane high school track.
I'd imagine that what you're dropping there, you would not want to pay, number one, the liability for tornado insurance, which would probably be extra astronomical. And number two, just the possibility of it happening would be ridiculous.
Oh, those were the things that scared me. Look, and having grown up in Arkansas where we experienced tornadoes and then Oklahoma State and tornadoes, and I'm sitting in Texas and I embedded myself there for a year so I could get to know Texas. And the tornadoes, nope, that's what did it for me. That and plus the fact that we are 100% track and field, as we go forward in this facility here. 100% track and field, 48 weeks of track and field. And you just touched on something a second ago, and that is getting athletes more involved in track. And I can tell you this, outside of the inner city, the majority of kids aren't exposed to track until they get to middle school.
Yep.
Not exposed to it till they get to middle school. But meanwhile, at 6 years old, they're exposed to Little League or T-ball. You got dads coaching their 3 and 4-year-old kids in soccer, and softball. All these other sports get exposure. And by the time you get to middle school, it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to run. I didn't like running in softball. I didn't like running in soccer. Right. And now you want me to do a sport that's just running? So we miss out on the opportunities to get kids to the place where they love track. Now you heard a comment from you mentioned a comment from Abby. Abby's a kid that was blessed enough to work with this year in Arizona as I did some consulting, or I'm sorry, here in Nevada as I did some consulting with Lake Mead Christian Academy. And Abby was one of those kids that as a kid, would go and run in races with her mom and her dad. It's an entirely athletic family. So this is a kid that loves running, but doesn't have or didn't have a lot of opportunities outside of competing in a 5K.
Or the mile fun run. And if you're a sprinter, and the thing is, I do love around here, and I think a lot of places they have like little summer track series where they'll have 4 or 6 meets. But unless you're ingrained in the running community already, you don't know they're going on. They
don't promote it. It's like you don't know about it.
And it's cheap. You pay like $5 per event. You jump in and it's all ages can run. They split it up if they have enough. They'll do heats and they're cool events. And I love the people that put them on. But number one, these people don't have the money to really promote it properly, right? They're just putting it on for people that want to maybe compete, some college or high school kids that want to get their legs wet, maybe just run like a tempo 800, you know what I mean? But it's like they have these, but nobody knows about them. And it's difficult for a sprinter, a distance runner or whatever, a kid that likes distance, go run the mile fun, run 5K, cool. Go do that. If you're a 100 person, I don't want to run 3.1 miles, kick rocks. I barely want to do a straight. You're asking me to do that? Get away from me. So I quickly want to jump with the comments here, a few of them. We had Giovanni Gift over here. Every race is a sprint. We had Jeff Newton jumping in. Based upon the success of the U.S. team at the Olympics, the timing on this indoor track is amazing.
Absolutely.
Good luck, Zig, and I'd even compound that with Worlds and everything we've seen success of U.S. Lance Miller, I believe, commenting back to Giovanni there. Mm-hmm. Every race has a sprint component. So thank you for everyone commenting. I think it's been great. So sorry, go ahead, Zig.
Yeah. So after Texas, I'm driving away and I call my attorney and I say, look, I don't know what to do here. I really thought Texas was it. And my attorney used to be the in-house counsel for, I think it's Pulte Homes here in Nevada. And he says, well, have you thought about Vegas? And I go, what? Like, I'm not putting this in Vegas. That's not a sports city. And he said, no, it's changed a lot. Go take a look at it.
It's becoming one.
Yeah. So I left Texas, and the first week of December, the second week of December, I'm in Las Vegas. And I'm driving around, and I go, this isn't the same Vegas that I thought it was. And then I started to talk with folks, and I met with some city officials over in Henderson, started to meet with some folks in Clark County and Las Vegas. And I said, okay, I think it can work here. Then I got to sit down with folks from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. And most people don't know it, but all the branding that happens in Las Vegas and the mission and vision of what you see of Las Vegas comes from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. Okay. And Lisa Motley sat down with me and a couple other guys from my team and some folks on her team. And she said, look, our goal is to shift the focus and to transition from being a gambling town to being the sports and entertainment capital of the world. We've got the hockey team, we've got the football team now, we've got the baseball team coming. And I'm going, I thought that Vegas was a basketball town. And I'm a Raiders fan, so I was, glad that the Raiders had moved here, because I'm thinking I can go over there from Phoenix every now and then to watch the Raiders play. But no, this place has shifted to a sports town, and it's not just us, but I like to think we've had some impact on it. But there are some governing bodies of sports that are looking to transition out of their locations to possibly relocate here. And, we're blessed enough that they're considering our campus as a home. And we're making some announcements about that in the coming weeks here. So
I was there about a month ago. I was in Vegas about a month ago.
I was trying to get you guys to meet up. I was trying to tell
I was there,
our intermediary to get you.
And it was
you were not there at the time. You were away.
No, but you're absolutely right. Like, you have the Raiders. NASCAR is huge there.
Oh yeah,
huge. So I mean, like, it is becoming. There's more. That they're having all-star.
They like games people there, going in circles.
But they're also have ovals. But they're also having. They're having all-star games there. Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be the sports hub of this country. I mean, LA is gonna be tough to beat New York, but it's gonna be right up there as one of the places where, like, athletes are gonna want to. Who doesn't want to go play in Vegas?
So here's
who doesn't want to go play and live in Vegas?
Here's an idea, and this might be down the road, but Dave and I have talked a bunch about figuring out a way to get our track athletes more exposed. Right? I feel like your facility would be the perfect place to kind of put on a track stars versus the world type of thing, where we get athletes from other sports to come and compete in track and field events that maybe they were good at in high school and college against the best in the world. And this will also be able to let it, maybe it's not Noah or Sid running against them,
I think
right?
You should have the track athletes do what they do too. Have it both ways.
No, absolutely not. They're trying to tell us they're better than them. No, I don't want to get our track athletes hurt either. But no, absolutely not. And you could bring in someone like the best collegiate athletes. And also, this will be a tall ask, RG3 and Emmanuel Acho, the commentators. They are the two best online about talking about track and field. Emmanuel Acho is on Fox Sports 1. Every single time there's something big going on in track, he is talking about it. RG3 has been such a great cheerleader for the sport. And I just think those two guys, and maybe John Anderson, who we love John Anderson, but I mean, it's a tall ask. It's down the road. It's after you get everything established. But I feel like because yours is indoor, this could be filmed year round. You could do this year round. And you can even make it fun and just be like, okay, run a 200 meter here. Okay, now go run a 200 meter on the indoor track and walk right into the middle and have them do it. Like, I feel like that could be a fun thing because Tyreek Hill likes to talk about how fast he is. Okay, go run against Josephus Lyles, Tyreek. Josephus will whoop your ass, okay?
Yes,
Josephus is a sub 20-second 200 meter runner. Like, I get it. Ty was fast, but man, like, there's levels, right? And I feel like that will be, again, once you guys are established and doing your thing and getting revenue, I feel like because of the facility, it's in Vegas already, so the promotion is there, and that would be so fun to just bring in some of the best athletes from other sports to get their ass kicked by our best track athletes.
Being in Vegas will certainly help.
Yeah.
I mean,
Look, Vegas. This is something that I didn't realize. Even since I've gotten here, everybody's like, "Hey, I'm coming to Vegas. Hey, I'm coming to Vegas. Hey, I'm coming to Vegas." When I was in Texas, nobody said, "Hey, I'm coming to Texas. Hey, I'm going to be in Texas next week." Every time I turn around, somebody's coming to Vegas. So what really sold us on Vegas is that it is the number one tourist destination. Yep. You look at New York and LA. Yes, they're great. People want to go there and spend some time in Times Square, but everybody wants to come to Vegas.
And I feel like the secondary is Atlantic City, right? The secondary spot may be Atlantic City because it's gambling. People like gambling. People
all around the world
gamble. That's it.
Yep.
And you get rich and famous people that will go see a show and go gamble. And that's kind of the allure.
Which I think will help, because if you get 3 or 4, hey, like celebrities, we're in Vegas, let's go watch a track meet. They just text it out or tweet it out. There you go. Oh, they're going there. It draws people. And
the Vegas sports snowballs too. The Vegas sports teams coming over there.
Yeah. So I want to get back into you're in Vegas. Yes. Everything's starting. You meet with the people from Henderson, and then
we meet with folks in Henderson. We meet with folks in Vegas, and I just decided, okay, this is it. This is it because of all of those reasons why. The year-round weather is great. As soon as we decided to be here, even investors that we had who were on the fence when we were in Texas, we had all of our funding in place in Texas, but it was still, are you sure it's going to work? Now that we're in Vegas, they're like, we know it's going to work in Vegas.
That's amazing.
And so we've had the checkbooks open and people just say, I want to be a part of this. And you touched on it. It's a $1.5 billion project. When we first got here, I just asked the land guy. I said, just find me 10 acres for us to build this track on, because it's a big building. The building itself has I think it's a 280,000 square foot footprint. Okay, so you're talking about a lot of land.
390,000 for that digital rendering. I guess maybe it'll be a little, but that's huge.
Well, and it took me a while to figure this out. That 390 is all of the rooms. You got volume of space, and so that's what the 390 is. But it's a big footprint. So I just wanted 10 acres, and we actually had some land in escrow last August. So we almost, if we had closed on that land, we'd actually probably be halfway done building the track building. But it turned out that land wasn't ideally situated for what we were up to. It's great land, just wasn't the perfect site for us. So we were able to pull out of that and found 2 spots that were ideal. And I could tell you, one of those is in North Las Vegas, and the other one is along the Strip. And we found that, look, either one of those is going to be great for us, but it turned into so much more because of when we sat down with the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, they said, look, have you thought about swimming? We sat down with MGM and they said, look, we had a swimming event where they built a pool in the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, I think it was, or one of their buildings, might have been their arena, back in 2018, and they put on this swimming event. But they were turning away, the city is turning away events. So they said, if you will build it, we'll help fill it.
If you build it, they shall come.
Yeah. And look, we've gotten phone calls from lots of college conferences who want to come in and host events there. Look, like I mentioned earlier, the majority of what we're going to do is we want to create opportunities for youth athletes. But then we also want to provide, especially during the traditional track and field season, opportunities for those collegiate teams who don't have anywhere else to go on the West Coast to compete in indoor track. Okay, they can go to Spokane and compete in the facility they just built up there.
But that's not 200 meters. That's an oversized track. If they wanted to compete on a 200
meter track, take the NCAA championship. That would be freaking fantastic with the facility you got there and the room and everything.
Get it out of New Mexico.
NCAA championships, the USA Track and Field Championships, those are all events that we'd like to host. Even bringing the World Indoor Championships, or you call it athletics, here to Las Vegas. Look, Oregon was great. That convention center was awesome. But how about having the opportunity to be in a building that's dedicated to track and field on a campus that's dedicated to athletes? And I want to touch on one thing, and that is people say, all right, well, this is what investors ask us all the time. Why would somebody come and compete on your track versus go on to another track? Well, first of all, the nearest track there's not one. There's not a track within 500 miles of Las Vegas. That includes the Reno track up there. You got to go. You can go to Reno. They're putting one of the convention center or one of their buildings up there. It'll be like Albuquerque, but it's also now we're back at altitude again. Altitude's great, but distance runners don't like going to Albuquerque to
and neither do the throwers. We've talked to throwers too. That are like, it changes everything. Yeah. Everything changes for the athletes at altitude.
Yeah. So the biggest advantage that we call this a competitive advantage. Look, you go to a typical track meet, you'll get your time, your distance, or your height, and you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, I ran 45 seconds. I'm going to go push a little harder so next week I can run 44.9 seconds. Or I ran, a 5-minute mile. I'm going to go back and push a little harder so I can come back and run 4:57, 4:55. Maybe when I peak, I'll run 4:50. Well, we are a technology company. That's where we started out. And so what we found is a way to develop technology that allows us, and this will be featured heavily in all of our venues, because we've got the aquatic center, we've got gymnastics, we've got courts for volleyball, which can also be used for basketball. And then we've got our sports performance building, which is really why we're doing this. I've turned down some other land because I couldn't put my sports performance facility there. It just wouldn't work from a business standpoint. But in that is our AI technology, which will allow us to give the athletes data about themselves that they wouldn't get anywhere else. What about your biomechanics? If you knew your biomechanics while you were running the 800, and we could show you when you started to fatigue and what you did to compensate for it, which affected your performance or led to an injury, how much better could you be from week to week and from year to year? Those are the things that I'm most excited about. Is we're going to be able to tell them, yeah, you started to fatigue, and here's how it affected you. In fact, here's which muscles started to fatigue first. Was it your right leg or your left leg or your hamstrings or your quads? That's what I'm excited about. So you want to know how to improve? Come and compete at the indoor track at Z Athlete Village and find out a whole lot more.
See, I love that. And honestly, I'm rooting for your success, not just from a fan of the sport, because I really want to see that, but I'm rooting for your success in terms of you being an example. You're putting a boatload of money into something without a school being attached to it, without something where a lot of people, it's like, okay, a college will start to sink a ton of money to create a high-class facility. Or, there's
look at Hayward Fields.
There's very few places willing to venture out and be on their own as a track facility, but I want to see you be the example and you make other people willing to invest and see the value in investing in track and making it something where, Zig has a bunch of pro athletes now racing at his because they want to get the biometrics and they want to get the AI and Zig now has a pro team. Okay. Hey, Zig, do you want to build this facility in the South because we lack indoor tracks in Florida? Oh, cool. Awesome. Do it. Enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see this become the model where even if it's not you, which I hope it is you, but even if it's not you, somebody else is looking at this going, copycat's the best flattery. Let's do something a little different, but let's do similar to what Zig did. And I want to see these now popping up. Like, I want this to be successful because I want this to be a model. And if we can get 8 of these, we have a pro league, 100% a pro league. If 8 of these pop up in the next 10 years, because now it's safe running environments, indoor controlled for pros and for track and track only.
Weather's not an issue,
with facilities for athletes to get proper training at a high level and feedback. And now it could be like, okay, the Vegas team is at the Z Athlete Village and the Florida team is at the Google facility, like whatever name it is, but regardless, like I want to see you be successful here so it can make other people be brave.
No, I want to see him build all 8.
That too. I would love to see him build all 8, but just regardless.
Yeah, I can tell you that's the goal. We'd love to own, a number of these. We got to get the first one done and the first one done right. And look, people have said, don't tell people about your dreams. Don't tell people what you're working on.
We talk about them all the time here.
You know what? Imitation is the best form of flattery. I'm not worried about somebody else doing it. In fact, come on, go do it too. Come talk to us. Let's figure out how we can do it together. In fact, we've already been approached by a number of groups who want us to do it in Florida or Texas.
I love that you're willing to do that. That is fantastic. I love that.
This is not about me. This is not about me and my ego. And a lot of people I've read all the comments, and some people want us to succeed. Some people want us to fail.
Who the hell would want to fail?
People do.
Hayward Field. Honestly, not to be mean, probably Hayward Field, because this is a business thing, right? Because the people at Hayward make a ton of money from hosting all the meets, and maybe they're more gracious. Maybe Zig is going to let me in on something. But if I'm looking at anyone, I'm looking at Albuquerque, I'm looking at Hayward, I'm looking at places, I'm looking at maybe the LA Grand Prix, the Icon, places like that are the hubs in the United States, and even Diamond League going, hey, you do that there, we're going to suffer here. Those are the ones that I could see not wanting it to succeed, not because they don't like Zig, not because they don't like the idea, because it wasn't their idea, and they're not going to make a ton of money off of it.
Yep. Nope. You're exactly right. But I can tell you this, in all fairness, look, Hayward Field's a great, facility. The location is a bit challenging for folks to get to. And that's what the feedback that I get from teams and so forth. But I can tell you this, and I'm not afraid to say it because it's okay, because Vegas is Vegas. We've been approached by the Big Ten about hosting their conference championships here.
Let's do it.
And do you know where they heard it from? Oregon. Oregon said, hey, there's a facility going in Vegas. We should look at hosting our meet there. Because guess who will be the host? They will.
Right. And they're in the Big Ten now. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. I'm excited.
Yeah. I want to get to a few comments real quick here. I got Wealth Hustle saying that Lance Miller is a great track coach. Coach Miller,
thank you.
Be in contact. Maybe you'll jump on.
Yeah.
We have Denise Z, I think, has a question. And Zig, I want you to kind of attack this. She left a few comments here. Hi, everyone. I'm Denise from Dallas. Are there any specific, and she said she corrected, specific training considerations associated with indoor track versus outdoor?
I was going to ask that.
She said she's seen the app and it's highly impressive. So I'll tell you my one hint that I give to all athletes venturing into indoor for the first time. If you're worried about breathing, stop. Just run your race, because the cotton mouth happens, your dry mouth right away. It happens. Yeah. The moment you start going, it doesn't affect athletes that suffer are the ones that start going, just race. Just race. And that's my biggest thing.
I'm sure
you're going to feel your lactic acids quicker. But from a kinesiologist, what are the biggest considerations from wanting to be a good indoor athlete versus wanting to be a good outdoor athlete?
That's a fantastic question. I can tell you the biggest adjustment is the radius. Especially if you're a taller athlete, making that adjustment to how do I go from being able to open my stride up down this short straightaway, and then all of a sudden here's this turn, and all of a sudden I'm at the apex of the turn. So being able to make that transition around the turns and absorb those forces and release those forces is the biggest thing in consideration. Yes, the cotton mouth is an issue, and that's something that you address with ventilation and circulation. So those are all, it's funny that you mentioned that. Those are some of the things that we are considering. How do we mitigate some of the challenges that athletes experience in other facilities? Because most buildings are done with, all right, we just need to put up a building as inexpensively as we can, put the track down, throw in some fans, and we're ready to go. We're for athletes. Our job is to make sure.
I think that's going to have to be a selling point. I'm so glad that you just brought up, because if you're having it outdoor, like a 400-meter race on an indoor track during the outdoor season, people are going to have a little hard time adjusting to that, because they've always been 400 meters has always been.
I'll say this, being a former union guy, pay the union guys. They're going to do it right. You get those union guys. Here's the thing. The difference is between the union and private. I have nothing wrong with private companies. I'm not one of those union guys that like, oh, stupid scabs. I've never been that guy. People got to work. Difference is it'll take a little bit longer. It'll be a little more expensive, but you'll have that ventilation system running perfectly. And I was an insulation guy. You get the proper insulation around there, it'll help the whole system significantly. So Union Brothers, I'm here for you.
Well, I can tell you this. We have got one of the best builders. In fact, they're the top builder construction company in the Southwest, Martin Harris, and they've been fantastic for us in terms of helping us establish relationships with the right architect. We've got Ed Vance, who is one of the most experienced architects around here and designed some fabulous buildings. And casinos, by the way, this is one thing you have to think about, they've got to have fantastic ventilation.
They certainly do.
Don't think about it.
No,
so here's a quick question for you. Number one, Denise, I hope we answered your question there. If you have anything else, ask, give us some more specifics. Number two, is there a fire code associated with how the ventilation needs to be in terms of how many people you're going to have in the building? Because there's a fire code with, how many people are allowed in, right? But is there kind of a code with the level of ventilation you need? And is there like a level that, in layman terms, that you would be trying to achieve versus baseline type of deal?
Alex, come on. How do I know?
No,
that's a good question.
When you get involved in this stuff, sometimes you learn this stuff.
No, I would never know that.
Wait, sometimes when you're involved in the things that you're doing, Zig, you kind of walk in and someone talks to you like, what does that mean? And then you learn about it. So I didn't know if this was something that...
No, I wouldn't know
ventilation. So maybe that's something to research or have your people look at. Like, hey, is there a standard and can we be above it? What is the above standard of what the baseline is? So we can... That's a promotion piece too. Like, hey, this is the standard ventilation. This is the athlete village. You're like, oh.
Yeah, nope. Now that you've asked, it's a question that I will get to ask my builders about materials.
And tell them to hire me. Hire me as a consultant.
We don't want that. So I have a question. Is there any stipulation that 400-meter races have to be run outside, or it's just have to be run on that length of a track?
No, not to my knowledge. In fact, one of the things
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, over the last, within the last couple of years, the World Athletics has even pivoted from "quote unquote" indoor track to short track. So
which no one is taking though. No one is taking that vernacular at all. But it helps your purposes.
Yeah, let me mention this though. Think about this: what's the maximum allowable wind for a race, for a sprint race?
I don't know that.
Was it 2? 2, right?
Yeah, got to be under 2.
The legal wind. Yeah.
The legal wind. Yeah. Imagine running a race that has legal wind all the way around the track. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about some of the unique features that we're going to be able to incorporate, how about controlling the wind?
Ideal conditions. It's going to be perfect conditions every time. That is great.
In terms of the rendering that I saw, and it might be a little different in person, right? The virtual renderings are always different. I saw that you have the indoor track in the middle, but then it can also drop down and there's a turf field. Is that going to be something that pops up and down? Is it going to be built every time for the specific events? How is that going to work for someone who's looking to maybe come in there and be like, hey, I want to do indoor soccer there?
Or is that indoor track movable and you could bring it to different venues so people can rent it out for a short track thing?
Put it in the Coliseum.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we have, we looked at a lot of the different venues out there. I got a chance to go visit Texas A&M and Texas Tech before they tore down. And then, I think they've redone their track, Chicago, and what's the other one over on the East Coast up in Long Island?
Icahn Stadium.
Icahn Stadium, yeah.
Icahn Stadium.
So we looked at all those, and we love the idea of the hydraulic bank track. Yeah. So it will go up to bank and then down to flat. Look, New Balance's track is like that. So again, that's another model that we looked at and said, let's make sure that we build this in a way that, look, our plan is, like I said, 48 weeks of track and field. That's the business plan.
Love that.
But we've got to also be prepared for, well, what if it doesn't work? And so now we're all in on track, but we also said, all right, what if the high school football championships wants to be held here instead of at Allegiant Stadium? Look, they can host it there. What if a soccer team, wants to come in and train? Can we do that? We're 90% internal programming and have left room for 10% of our schedule for exterior outside programming. But are we going to take the venue and do what a lot of the places do where, they take the track out or put it down and hold concerts and things like that? This is Vegas. There's plenty of venues for concerts. What
like
the city has told us is we would rather you lower it flat and put courts in, and hold a pickleball tournament or host some things like that, rather than trying to compete with what Vegas has already got enough of.
Or a better idea. Put a stage in the middle while you're doing a 400 and have a concert go on while they're racing. Have Snoop with a concert while they're racing on the outside.
Snoop is an American legend, man. He is an American legend.
He's into track apparently now.
No, man, we got to have Snoop as a commentator.
Yes.
Oh, no. Actually, I was about to say our resume. Hold on. Our resume. Dude, you got all-stars right here.
Yeah.
Do your commentary in 48 weeks.
Snoop Dogg brings something to the race, baby.
He'll be the guest. He'll be the on-the-ground person.
You got it.
Are there any plans to blow the track fans' minds and have a 400-meter meet and a 200-meter meet at the same time?
Oh,
just blow our minds.
I don't know if that would blow our minds, if it would create headaches.
Oh, it would be chaos.
You got to start race.
It would be more trouble than it's worth.
I can tell you, here's one thing that, look, I love distance races, but the stress on a distance runner's body, on that 200-meter track, banked or not, is enormous. Yeah. And so we'll during the traditional season, put on, of course, some events where athletes on the West Coast from California won't have to go all the way to New York or
so you get qualifying times for nationals and stuff.
They can come here and do it. But how about being able to run, a mile or a 5,000 or something on an outdoor track indoors in perfect conditions?
Yeah.
Those are the things that
get first ever indoor 10K on a track ever.
Yeah.
First ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Where they don't have to worry about the temperature. Look, the temperature in Texas for the 10K was brutal. Even in Oregon these last couple of times. 10K's been brutal.
I agree with everything that you said about distance runners, their bodies break down. Unless you're Safan Hassan, then you could just do whatever you want.
She's a beast.
Or unless you're running at BU, that BU track is a cloud. You can run forever on that BU
That's
track.
A fast track.
I love BU. I'm sorry. Have you ever been to BU, Zig?
Yeah, I have been on that track, and you're right.
We call it the magic carpet at Maris for a reason, because everybody PRs. My slow ass PR'd over there, okay? Everybody PRs on the magic carpet. So.
Last year they had a meet where they had 70 people break 4 minutes at that meet.
No kidding.
70 break 4.
So you know what? Z Athlete Village is going to have 71, damn it. Break that.
There we go. We're going to have more. Look, that's the goal, to create more opportunities for athletes to maximize their results. So what's our vision? It's to create a destination for athletes to be able to live, train, and compete in an environment where they can optimize their body so they can maximize the results they achieve. We accomplished that. And look, my heart is full. My mission is complete. I've done this in the third quarter of my life, and I've given back to the sport that gave me the opportunity to become a sports kinesiologist and impact the lives that I've impacted. And this is just one way to close the door, finish my career.
So, see, I don't think people realize that it's a residence, that the athletes can live there and live there and train there and compete there. So it's an all-encompassing thing.
With what Dave is saying, is there a goal to make a pro track team where the athletes live there and they are pros for Z Athlete Village, Las Vegas? And this is a team that now travels to meet in uniform in solidarity as, hey, we are Z Athlete Vegas. And, we live there. We're on that resort. This is what we do. Our families are here. Is that a goal where you guys are now going to travel and dominate?
That would be insane.
That's a great question. And in fact, we actually just announced today the future World Indoor Track and Field League, and it's structured different than traditional track and field.
Yes, I want to see if I can pull that up.
And it's kind of inspired by, if you look at, I know they had some tragedy over the weekend, but CrossFit, if CrossFit can take Olympic weightlifting and turn it into a competition that gets more people involved in lifting weights, then how can we take the sport of track and field and turn it into something that athletes can do year round? And so we announced today the upcoming launch of the World Indoor Track and Field League, and it is an event that's also, I guess you could say, inspired by heptathletes and decathletes, the multi-event athletes. Look, they're considered the world's greatest athlete. You're the Olympic champion in the decathlon. My good buddy Dan O'Brien.
Great.
Love I love how versatile he is. And look, as a hurdler, long jumper, 100-meter guy, I was supposed to, my roommate in grad school was a decathlete. And he's like, you should do it. Now, the pole vault, I'm afraid of heights, and I'm afraid of that pole snapping. So the pole vault kept me from being a decathlete.
Gotcha.
But one of the things that you see there is it creates a different competition that's not just about who's the fastest. It's who's the most efficient, who's the fittest. You've got to be able to thrive in multiple disciplines. And while being the fastest in the world in one event or another is great, but what else can you do? And I think one of the things that really will appeal to the average person is the fact that they don't have to be the best in one event. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the World Indoor Track and Field League is about. It's really about getting athletes to embrace their strengths. And hey, I'm not the greatest hurdler, but I throw a little bit farther than the next person, so I can make up the difference by doing a throwing event. And it's scored, but then it's also the team environment. So when you look at all the other sports leagues that are out there, one of the things that makes people attracted to them or attracts people to them, makes them fall in love with it, is there's a sense of community around the Las Vegas Raiders. There's a sense of community around the Boston Bruins. But we don't have that in track.
Zig, would you be opposed to would you be opposed to me sharing the email that Juliana sent us that has the immediate release?
No,
would you
go right ahead.
Okay, I want to make sure before I do it.
But
there's nothing on there. Go ahead, Dave.
But Zig, I will say to your point, the multi-event athletes, they are a big community, which is nice. Yeah. Like they all wait for each other, and
No, you're absolutely right. There is a huge sense of community there, supporting each other. Look, are we looking to use this? The World Indoor Track and Field League to grow more multi-event athletes? No, we're using it to grow the sport. Because I can tell you this, when an athlete competes in one event, they go off a track and they're told you're a miler, you're a 2-miler, you're a sprinter, or they say, I want to be a sprinter. And then they're constantly going out there and getting their butts kicked. All of a sudden you go, I'm not such a big fan of track and field.
So I'm putting an athlete's name in the hat for the women, Hope Bender. We had her on the show. Go listen to it. We love Hope. I'm putting her name in there for the draft officially.
All right. But look, there's a lot of those athletes that are out there that, like I said, they are capable of being pretty good in all of these different events. Show your talent and show your athletic.
This is something cool right here. Each athlete in the World Indoor Track and Field League will receive a competitive average salary and bonuses of approximately $260,625, reflecting the league's commitment to attracting top talent and rewarding exceptional performance. Now, here's the thing. Most people that are fans of track and field are going to look at that and roll their eyes because we have seen the values and things like that have been said before and this and that. But I think the fact that you guys have, and you mostly a lot yourself, but your team have these investors that are willing to even put in $1.5 billion to get the facility intact, are also going to be willing to follow your vision here.
Athletes will go.
Athletes and the investors will go and say, listen, we believe in this so much. It's in Vegas that he's going to put on something that is going to make this worthy of making sure that these athletes do get paid. So do you know how many athletes that you guys are going to want to have in total for the first season?
Yeah, I can tell you this. Right now, we've got a plan, and we've talked to so far, a number of people, but we've got about 8 interested individuals who actually want to own the team. And when you look at it, the league has a $100 million budget. Okay, a part of that budget comes from us. And if you look at all the other leagues, there's a lot of revenue sharing going on. You've got a team owner that has to have a minimum amount that they're willing to invest. We do too. Team owner has to have a minimum commitment that they're willing to invest. And a big portion of that has to go to salaries. It has to go to salaries. Yeah. So again, this isn't about building a team that's going to have, Sha'Carri Richardson on it because she can run, the 100 meters faster than anybody in the world, or on Noah Lyles. But look at somebody like one of my favorite athletes, Tara Davis Woodall, who can
love Tara.
Hurdle.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an athlete.
Are they going to have to do all the events, or are they going to have to?
I just hope that the athletes are willing to do this and get out of their comfort zone, and they're actually willing. That would be incredible.
Well, remember, it's not for every athlete.
Right.
Michael Johnson's got his Grand Slam track. That's an extension from what I see, or an expansion of the Diamond League,
Yes.
or maybe a way to do the Diamond League a little bit better, he believes. And I wish him all the best of luck. Ours is about, what about the average athlete out there who loves track and field?
You were smart to go that route. Very smart.
The fastest.
Yeah.
They're not the fastest, but they could perform well enough in 5 events. And again, for 8 weeks, this is an 8-week regular season followed by a 4-week playoff season with teams competing against each other, scoring points. Okay. So think about all the meets where everybody was going, where's a thing Mo this year? Where's Sydney? Where's so-and-so? Why did they wait all this time? Well, in our World Indoor Track and Field League, athletes are they'll represent cities from around the world, but for 12 weeks, they'll live right here on campus and compete. So room and board will be taken care of. Their training will be taken care of while they're here. Their coaches will be here. And
they'll get a salary.
And we'll get to root for people. We'll see them every week, and we'll get to fall in love with their story. And it's, okay, they were so close, but that 1,600 got them. That 1,500 got them. Or this week, are they going to be able to sit there and run their PR this week instead of being 10 seconds off and losing? And are they going to get points for Vegas's team? And I love the emotional investment. Now, I will say this, Dave will mirror this. Anything we can do to help promote this league, please don't hesitate. And this is out in the ether live now. Do not hesitate to ask. Do not.
All right. I just want to say something honest. This is amazing. I would have worried that you wouldn't be able to get those athletes to stay for the 12 weeks, but you're providing room, board, and a salary. And the salary that you are offering, most of these athletes, you might have some athletes real quick start running other events just to go live there.
You'll get your non-elites.
Because they will not make elites. If they have room, board, and salary and coaching and trainers and I don't know. I'm so intrigued with how it goes because the potential is endless, and I really think this way of doing it can attract a lot of people. It's going to be fascinating.
Think about it this way, okay? When you look at all the other sports that are out there, the professional leagues, okay, our sport is the only sport that. And you see this all on social media. Oh, they ran poor. They didn't run as fast as they ran last week. Oh, I can't believe, they're never going to catch Usain Bolt. Well, how many people are going to score 100 points in a basketball game?
That's what I say all the time.
Hit 75 home runs.
Quarterbacks to set a record every single week they go out and play.
Exactly.
We have numbers that we look at and we're like, okay, that quarterback threw at 65%, 250 yards with 2 touchdowns. Fantastic week.
Yep.
Right. And I think
that's what we want. That's what we want. We want fans to get excited about the scoring from week to week. And just like you said, if I struggled in a meet the previous week, I'm coming back next week. Don't you worry. Right. You'll see me again.
And the sell merchandise based off that. You can sell merchandise based off the fact that we're going to see them every week, and you can market them. And that's, I think, the biggest thing we've always talked about. The marketability. You
don't know who's where.
Because you sit there and so-and-so is going to run at the LA Grand Prix, and then half the field pulls out. And it's like, okay, because they weren't 100%. Your league is a test of endurance as well as a test of athleticism, which is all leagues. Is a war of attrition. All leagues are a war of attrition.
Athletes will save on food. They will save on room and board. They will save on travel.
They can walk across the street.
The same. This is
it's learning lessons, not from our sport, but from other sports. What have they done to be successful? And when you look at the sponsors, and yes, sponsors, I'm out there, I'm talking to you out there right now. When this is all about contributing to one athlete, if that athlete doesn't show up, but you gave them $2 million a year and they're injured, did you get the most out of your investment? But when it comes to the other leagues, they're sponsoring the league, and then those athletes are contracted with a team that's in the league. So they're going to show up. They're going to get the best treatment from week to week to make sure that they don't show up. And if they don't show up, guess what? There's another athlete who's going to step up to compete in their place. That's what this is all about. Because Kobe Bryant isn't, 50-point Kobe Bryant, or wasn't 50-point Kobe Bryant every night. Michael Jordan wasn't 50-point Michael Jordan every night. No. Somebody else had to step up.
Yep. Noah Lyles might get third place. It's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay. And so here's a question for me. If I'm an athlete, or I know an athlete, I'm an agent watching right now, how do I get my name in the hat? What are the standards? When are they going to be posted? Are they going to be something that's internal for these elite athletes that you are going after? And if I'm an athlete and I'm sitting there thinking like, I'm a multi-athlete right now, but I'm not Anna Hall. How
do I live in that village?
I'm not USA trials every year, but I am right there. I'm a former NCAA champion that really hasn't. How do I get my name in the hat to at least be considered for this draft? Where do you have to go? Is there someone to email?
No, there is no one to email. We're going to find you. Okay. And here's what it is.
I'm going to start training.
It's not just about the performance.
Okay.
If you look at, your typical track and field athlete, it's, I got to meet this standard so I can get sponsored. I got to place in the, such and such, top 6, top 8, top 3. I got to be the world best in order to get a sponsor. So I'm going to keep training my butt off. I'm going to work at Home Depot or, some other place. Or like I said, sleep in my car. I'm going to do whatever it takes until I get there. Then you work hard for 4 years and you get the Olympics and something happens. You get sick, you get an injury. So now all of a sudden, all that work you've done has gone down the drain. We're not just looking for athletes who can perform. We're looking for athletes that are marketable as well to help grow the sport. So you might not perform the best now, but guess what? We've got technology that can help you get there. So this is not just about finding the best. It's about, look, Steph Curry's got a shooting coach. Okay. Michael Jordan had a strength coach and a shooting coach and a skill. Everybody's working on their game, but it's different when you are in an environment where the team is responsible for your development. Yes, you are too, but our goal is to help make sure that we're putting the best product out there possible. So do you have a good personality? Maybe you're 8th in your conference. We're going to look and go, were they in the right event? It's like I said, it's not just multi-athletes. Maybe it's an athlete that was a hurdler that we look at and go, hey, you could long jump and throw and do this. And we haven't said which events we're going to do yet, but I can tell you this. It'll be run, jump, throw. Okay.
Right.
And
whereas the other new leagues are not having fields. They're only focusing on the track. So you are giving those athletes a place to go as well to show their talents to the world.
You're exactly right. So, again, it's about developing the total athlete.
I've been saying for a while, I think track and field is missing the team aspect. What do people root for? They root for teams, right? Whether it's your high school team, even in track, people root for college, high school, like track college teams, so having a team concept is going to be, and having everybody have to count each other and giving the athletes, every other sport, the athletes have a place that's home base.
Yeah.
Track athletes don't have home base. They're traveling all around. Like they don't have home games where they can have, this would give them a home base and give them a little, just less anxiety, a place to lay their head every day, not live out of a bag and everything like that. So I think all those things are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm telling you right now, you have definitely got me pumped. I'm pretty sure you got Dave pumped about this. If there's a team, what's the team name? Is it going to be the Z's?
No. It will not. It will not. It will be a community-based team. It's all about either Las Vegas or Nevada. And every team should be a community-based team.
Of course.
So if we've got a team in Dallas, that Dallas team can live and train in Dallas in the off season or wherever. But they're just like the Raiders.
But
the
12 weeks out of the year, they live in the resort.
The Raiders live in Vegas. They live where they play. But track and field, it's not an option because there is no home field. You're traveling everywhere.
No. And eventually, we can look at other venues that are out there as, initially, we're going to do this in a controlled environment. If you look back to the COVID year when the NBA did their season down in Florida at Disney, that was when the light bulb went on for me. If they can do that, they didn't have fans.
Nope.
But people still followed them, even though they didn't get to watch them. People traveled to Florida to watch or to try to watch or just to be in the environment. But imagine if they had been able to have fans there. How many people would have gone to Florida to watch their favorite team play? I just got back from Minnesota. I was over there. My college roommate's oldest daughter got married. Shout out to my boy Ross Giles and his daughter,
Congrats.
Jalen,
Congrats.
and Jesse for their. I get there. The Raiders are playing the Vikings. And I'm walking around downtown and all these Raiders jersey and Vikings jerseys. That's what this is all about, to create that kind of community where people can say, that's my track team. My track team.
Going into like Modell's and be like, I want a jersey of that track athlete on that.
You betcha.
Team.
So Dave, you ready? Dave, you ready? I'm going to do it. Z Athlete Village shirts that we can wear on the show. Where they at, Zig?
No, I gotta say,
I'll get you the indoor track at Z Athlete Village.
Love it. I love it.
I can't fathom that this is actually happening. Oh, one more thing. Are there any talks about TV deals with certain so that way so people will know where they can find and watch their athletes? Because that's huge too. If people can watch the athletes every week, that really draws fans.
Yep. Nope. They're exactly yes. Look,
if you say Flow Track, we're fighting. No, I'm kidding.
No,
We love you at Flow Track. We love guys. Well, we love you guys at Flow Track. We do. We always joke. We kid.
I don't joke. I love it.
Sure. Okay.
No, they're going bigger than Flow Track.
No,
Come on.
No, it's not Flow Track. Look, at the end of the day, we've got a venue. Look, I just toured the UFC facilities. They were gracious enough to show us their venue.
Over there.
And they put on events in their vineyard. They're they're going through a remodel right now, but they've got full production studios. Their back of house is phenomenal. And so again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Like I said, I know there are some skeptics out there that are like, this is never going to work. It's track and field. We're not just track and field. We are so much more than that, and that's why it works. Our business model generates revenue from so many other places that allow this to work. As you mentioned, athletes can live there. They can buy a condo. We've got apartments on site. We've got a hotel on site. We've actually even got an all-girls academy on site because I'm a girl dad, and so we're dedicated.
We're all both girl dads. We're all
girl dads here.
Love it.
Two daughters. Yep.
So our all-girls academy is more than just track and field. It's for all the sports that we offer, and it's to give high school female athletes a chance to thrive in an environment that's dedicated and committed to just them in sports. They got to excel academically, so we're going to make sure that they achieve things there. But that's one of the buildings on our campus. But it's so much more than track and field.
This is kind of like everything all in one. Like I can't wrap my head around that. So are we looking 2026? Is that when we're looking to break ground or
that up, because we have an upcoming events calendar on the website.
Beautiful.
And I'm tossing that up right here. See, I come prepared. Okay. I come prepared every once in a while.
You do. And I can tell you this, there are a couple things that haven't been added to that. One of the things we are looking at is actually putting up a temporary building on the campus that will house only a 200-meter track, but that's so that we can get started. So we've actually got a season full of track and field camps and meets next summer.
Oh, so you heard it here first.
1 year from now.
Summer, 1 year from now, 2025 track and field camps over at Z Athlete Village.
You got it. That's the goal. Let's get started. Like I said, it's not the full thing, but again, this is learning some of the lessons from the venues that have been out there and in particular in Vegas. A lot of multi-billion-dollar casinos or projects have started and they couldn't open until they were fully complete. Our goal is to open in phases. So that temporary track building will open first. Then the sports performance building will open second. Then probably the girls' academy, and I'm just looking at our timeline here, and then the full indoor track building. So again, it's do it in phases so that we're not waiting 3 years to start to generate revenue from this particular campus.
So I do love how you're putting everything out there. It's putting pressure on yourself to make it is out there. It's a beautiful thing. So that everyone's like,
so what is this
really happening?
Track and field challenge? It's from December 27th to January 3rd. That seems pretty cool. What is the challenge here?
Well, what usually happens over those the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays, athletes are competing usually in basketball tournaments. okay, or soccer tournaments. But track and field athletes, they go home for Christmas break and they don't do anything else until the indoor season starts. So we wanted to create an event that gives track and field athletes a chance to keep competing and inspires them to continue training through the holiday weekend. So this is what we consider our flagship event that we want to hold every single year and invite athletes from around the country. And look, I just want to say this. A lot of people, when we started to talk about this, they always talk about the elite athletes.
Yep.
The elite athletes always have some place to go.
Sure.
Our focus is the athletes who don't always have some place to go. So this isn't a track meet. In fact, the majority of our quote unquote invitational meets aren't ones where we're saying, all right, you're one of the top 5 or 6 or 10 in your event, you're invited. No, we invite the athletes who are not in the top first, and then we invite the rest because everybody else has some place to go.
So looking here, we have the Indoor High School Track and Field League, January 8th to 16th. Now, obviously, things can change, right? These are all in the future. But this is also cool, too, because we're so used to indoor in the Northeast. In Jersey, where we grew up, we both grew up. We are very, indoor is just something we do. But over out on the West Coast, it's beautiful all the time. The hell's the need for indoor over there? This is really cool because 400 high school teams, Nevada, Arizona, California, and Utah, compete in the league, limited to 200 boys, 200 girls, 36 athletes per team. This looks friggin' sweet. 5 meets, 10 weeks.
I also like it too because it's climate controlled. It's not.
Yeah.
And you can use this 200-meter track, like we said earlier, for kids out on the West Coast to get qualifying times to compete at the indoor nationals.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And the middle school league too. This is amazing.
Yeah. So, and you'll notice, if you'll notice there, and this is one thing, when I got to Nevada, I was shocked. No middle school track and field.
I moved taller.
None. You're right there. So we said, okay, let's do a middle school league. Now there is an outdoor middle school league here. I think they put on about 4 or 5 meets, but it's hot. And if I'm a kid that's now being introduced to track and you make me sit out in the heat for 6 hours, I'm done. This will be my only season. Look, my daughter, I ran track. I wanted my daughter to run track. My daughter played soccer at an early age, and she finally got introduced to track in the 7th grade, ran a 67 400 in the 7th grade in her first 400 race. And she comes back up in the stands and I'm sitting there. And I was that dad that said, nope, that's your coach over there.
Go away.
But she comes up into the stands and she says, how do I run it? And I said, tell you what, you see that girl that's going to be in front of you? Your job is to catch her and then run next to her the whole way. I just wanted her to make up the stagger. Okay. Cause I knew she had the strength and endurance from soccer. So she does that. Surprises herself. She's a 7th grader running against 8th graders. And she comes up in the stands afterward and she goes, whew, Dad, my butt hurts. I can't feel my butt.
Yup.
And I go, welcome to the 400. I said, so now you got to run the 4x4. Go do that in the next race as well. Well, she remembered how it felt. So she didn't quite go out the same way. And then she finished this. So she still finished it, but she gets to the end of the season and she's like, yeah, that's it. I'm done, Dad. I don't want to run track anymore. And I'm like, yeah, that's the sport.
Yep. And I think one thing that you have a chance to do here is like we talk about the lack of summer stuff. You're climate controlled. All this stuff is during like the school year and things like that. But there's a fantastic opportunity, and obviously in the future, to sit there and say to kids in the Southwest and stuff like, hey, come to a legitimate summer league. Like,
get off the video games, come and be athletic and work out.
And do massive camp. We will house your children in world-class resorts and hotel conditions, and let's do a fun league. We'll break up into teams, disciplines, ages, things like that, and let's run all summer. And then you'll sit there and and the thing that makes these other sports fun too, I played football, we did other things. It's just the memories that you create from being a part of these types of camps and being a part of these situations where I might compete against Phil in my high school every single year since middle school. But now I'm a sophomore and I just went away to Z Athlete summer camp, speed camp, like running camp. And now we're on the same team. We were split up on the same team. Now me and Phil are friends. Like, I found out he's really cool, and we get those memories. And I still have kids that I'm friendly with from going to football camp against them in Jersey and things like that. And you get these stories. And again, distance runners have these stories all the time as they go to distance camps and things like that. But you have a legitimate facility there. And then also it's like, okay, kids, we can go swim in the pool this time, or we can go play and you can go do some, athletic stuff over in the gymnasium there because, controlled things for athletes to get better and teach them about the science of being an athlete there too. Like the chalk talk. And some athletes will look at it and be like, guess I had to do this. And then you'll have other ones that be like, yes, I'm in. And I just think you have what you're doing, what your vision is. Man, if it comes to fruition,
when
I will say that when
I still can't fathom this.
I love it. I will be so pumped that we can point back to episode number 101 of Talking in Novels and be like, hey, you see that guy right there who's cutting the ribbon on the stock exchange because he's like the freshest billionaire in the country? We had him on a show once. He won't even answer my emails anymore, but he was on a show. No, I'm kidding, Zig. But
I will answer your emails.
Of course.
He'll say go away, but he'll answer them.
No, listen, I might fly out to Vegas and be there opening night. I mean, this is just the most.
This is really cool.
In terms of track and field, we've never seen anything like this. Nothing like this has ever
ambition has been there, but the execution.
I don't know about that, but nothing like this has ever even been proposed. And if it ever has, it's never gotten anywhere to where we are now. I mean, like you have investors, like everything is in place. Like it's a matter of just it getting built and then like looking back in 10 years and be like, wow. Remember when we had the 4 big sports? Well, now track and field is one of those sports in this country because of all the work that all the little people. I mean, you're not little, we are, but like all the work that all these people are doing to help better the sport.
Look at how popular. Most people don't realize it, but track and field is the number one participation sport in the world. Number one. It's athletics in every other country. They love it. They do it the way we're going to do it. So again, it's about those lessons that we learned. Who's doing something that works? You know who's doing something that works? Youth soccer. When I was embedded in Texas, you look at youth soccer, and I can think about back in the 90s when I used to do speed training for a soccer team. And it was year-round, but it wasn't year-round. Now it's a year-round business, and they're committed to soccer. Same thing happens in basketball. Now, the difference is, for us, it's making sure that we educate the athletes and do the cross training so that they don't get burned out. So an athlete isn't competing all year round, but we're year round. So if you look at our schedule that you just had up, you've got when high school athletes are in track and field, middle school athletes aren't, or maybe they're in middle school but don't want to be in the heat. We've got our middle school indoor track and field league. During the summer, we're back to high school. In the fall, the majority of athletes are in football or cross country. So what do we still offer, though? An opportunity for those athletes that aren't doing football or cross country to come and compete in a downsized fall league, just like they do with baseball, just like they do with softball. They'll compete up to a point. Then they'll get to the traditional high school indoor season, which we'll get to have, followed by outdoor. But again, it's about, I was listening to somebody's podcast they were doing the other day, and they were saying, track, you can only do or compete for 3 months out of the year. Bull.
What?
You can, if you cycle properly and condition your body and you train, you can compete year round, just like all the other athletes.
Every distance runner has done that all since middle school. Cross country,
since middle school,
summer training, cross country, winter track, spring track, do it all over again.
No, but sprinters are taught you can only sprint 3 months out of the year. You're going to burn your body up. No, you're not. Look at distance runners get 3 seasons. They get cross country, indoor track, outdoor track, and if they're good, they go through the summer
training. But summer training, as you're getting your base,
that's a season.
You maybe take a week or 2 off, if that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you start up and it's like, okay, let me do a shakeout run. And your shakeout run, you sit there and you start to run like your regular pace, and you're like, I'm an idiot. Like every shakeout run starts off like, all right, let me do 7:30 pace. You get done, you're running 6:15. You're like, I hate myself. But that's what distance runners do, and there is no time off. And again, like you said, sprinting is not the most, it's demanding, but it's not more demanding than football. It's not more demanding than basketball year round. It's not more demanding than soccer year round. It's not more demanding than any other sport that requires discipline, intelligence, and good coaching. You have those things.
There it is.
You're going to be good. And Lance Miller, I love this. Las Vegas will become the track and field destination of the world. Coach Miller, yes, it will. Yes, it will.
And Coach Miller, that's Lance Miller. He works with some of the top athletes out here in the Las Vegas area. And,
Coach Miller, we got that invite coming. Get in contact with us. DM us. We would love to have you on.
Yeah.
You betcha. And I think he's also the West Coast the Western region representative for USA Track and Field.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. So, Zig, do you have anything else you want to put a bow on this? Because we were going to talk Olympics. We're not talking Olympics.
We already kind of did, though.
We did a little. I want to end out on this because this is amazing, incredible and enlightening. So, do you have anything else you want to kind of tie a knot with this to kind of the last thing you want to say about the Athlete Village and your vision and what you're doing?
Yeah, no, like I said, this has been a dream of mine since grad school, and we worked on it a couple times, looked at a number of properties over the years in the Phoenix area that just didn't work out for us. And I can tell you this: it's not just that it didn't work out; it's that not only were we not ready, the world wasn't ready for it, but in learning from the lessons of other sports successes and failures, that's what's going to lead us to success. So I invite you, everybody that's out there is listening or that might be, watching this at a later date as opposed to watch that live, to just stay tuned and keep an eye out for what we're up to and be a part of the movement to grow the sport. Don't be one of those folks that sits out there and says, "Oh, I hope this fails," because it's not me. Because if it succeeds, it is you, because you are track and field. If you're a track and field coach and you want to get involved, or if you're a track and field athlete, go to our website at Z Athlete Village or at Z Athlete Factory, where you can also find some of our events. Get involved in what we're up to. Embrace some of our technology early. We've just released a new app, our Motion DNA app, which turns your cell phone, your mobile device, into a full-blown biomechanics system in real time, so that instead of having to upload your videos or draw on them, you immediately can see, here's where my athlete is, and you can show them.
And you weren't there. Back to that, Denise said that she seen the app and it's highly impressive. That's back earlier in the show, so that's fantastic. So it's really cool.
Yeah. So, but
you are doing unbelievable things.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate you guys having us on the show. And you guys are doing big things for the sport as well. So keep doing that, because it's voices like yours that will eventually start to overpower the other voices that are saying, keep track the same, just keep doing what we've been doing. And unfortunately, if we keep doing that, we're going to continue to be having these conversations every 4 years. Why isn't track popular? It's what carried the Olympics.
I said this to Dave when we did a live recap, and it's a quick little aside here with Letziel Tobogo going, I can't be the first because I'm not as arrogant as Noah Lyles. And you know what I say? Good, go back into obscurity for 4 years then. Yeah. No one knows who you are. Yeah. Everyone will know for the next 4 years who Noah Lyles is. Everybody will watch the meets that he's in to see if he wins or loses, because people like him and people dislike him now, and that's what you kind of want. Okay. And you know what, Letziel? If you happen to be lining up on him on the line, you'll get some screen time. So until track and field athletes gain a little personality, get a little, they don't have to be Noah. They don't have to be as flamboyant. But gain a little bit of personality, get a little bit of, you're sprinters. We know how you guys are. We know off the track, each and every single one of you are going, I'm the best. You believe it. You are cocky. I'm sorry. You don't get to the level that you're at without being cocky. You are not just confident as a sprinter at that level. You are cocky. We're all taught in track and field, be humble always. Don't be expressive. Kick rocks with that. If you're a pro athlete, you have earned the right to be expressive. You have earned the right. What do we love about football, which they've taken away, is the high stepping, is the showboating. With basketball, it's the dunking. One of the best ones is what was it? Sean Kemp that did the dunk over someone and pointed. Was it Sean Kemp? We love all that. Why is it in track that Noah Lyles jumps around a little and is very confident, and now he's getting destroyed for it? We need more of that. And if we don't want to go back into relative obscurity, we need more athletes like him, like Sha'Carri, that wear their confidence openly in press conferences. That's me. That's all. I want that more of that. So before we let you go, we're going to ask you the question, which is going to be difficult for you because you're doing it, but
he does it. He
does it, but he might have another idea outside of what he's doing. We ask all of our guests, if they could wave a magic wand and change something right now about the sport in order to bring casuals in and make it something where, our pro athletes can get paid in a way that they deserve, right? What would you do maybe outside of what you're currently doing? Because that would be a cheat.
He's like,
I don't allow it.
Cheat.
You were sitting,
he already figured it out.
I'm just going to say me.
He already figured it out. So
something that you could possibly do that maybe is outside of your kind of purview, right? Which maybe is nothing right now. Maybe it's just going to be like, I'm going to be me and do what I'm doing. And that's kind of, I'll give you that. But if there's anything else you could think of, what would it be?
I don't know, because I can tell you this. I have been overwhelmed with ideas. Everybody's got some kind of feedback they've tried to give us.
We've heard
the
about
most important thing that I've tried to do is stay focused and stay hungry. And look, you know how much sleep I get? I get three hours of sleep a night. I was up in Minnesota and I went to bed at midnight and I was up at 3 a.m. You know what I did? I opened up my laptop and got to work.
You look more awake than we do.
So I got to keep doing what I'm doing and just stay focused. Yeah. And something comes up later, I'll look at it, we'll entertain it. Yeah. I'm not so arrogant about this that I'm not willing to accept input and advice from others. It's just got to fall in alignment with what we're up to. And so once we get done with that, I guess if you ask what would I do differently, I would invite more people to come and support our project and help put the word out there that this is the place to be for track and field and gymnastics and aquatics and all of the other sports that we will offer. Come to Vegas and spend a little time with us.
All right. So we'll talk. I'm going to talk a little bit after the show, but I would definitely like to see if we could figure out some people maybe that you may have not been in touch with that we've had that we could possibly get you in touch with to get more pieces written about what you're doing or maybe get you on some more shows and things like that, because we need more outreach for this.
Especially here on the East Coast.
Yes.
We need more information about it over here on the East Coast.
This and, hoping our show expands that a little bit. But I mean, again, Dave and I are not in this to make a ton of money. We're not in this for Dave and myself. We are in this similar to you to benefit the sport, to make pro athletes that are pros not have to work jobs outside of being pros, and to, your vision is what we have been trying to kind of talk about without our ability to execute. And it's awesome to see somebody that can execute it, that is executing it. And, you have our full support.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And just so you know, and I have this conversation with my team all the time. If I don't get to do what my mission is, which is to help make a difference for the athlete, it's not about the money. It's about giving back to the athletes. And like I said, serving what I call the underserved sports. So people are like, you should do basketball, you should do this, and you should do everybody wants to do that. My job is, like I said, to give back to the sport that springboarded me, that allowed me to see parts of the world and the country that I never would have seen before. And look, if there's, I was talking to J.J. Burden, one of my friends, about this, who played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a track guy at Oregon, a hurdler like myself, and long jumper. And if track and field is on and some other sport, the NBA championship, but there's a track and field meet on, I'm watching that.
Me too.
So whatever we can do to inspire people to choose track and field over some of the other events, that's what we've got to do. So again, I don't have to be the only one, but I'm willing to take this.
You'll be the pioneer.
And I'm sure, also in that same vein, how great would it be that the athletes don't have to go over to Europe, that they can stay here in the States to be able to compete?
Or that Europe's calling Zig and going, hey, one over here, please. Okay. We want you to come here, or China or India or all these countries that maybe could use them, all these nations. Hey, and then the Olympics goes, you know what, Zig, that's a great facility. We want you to make a village out of it.
I mean, hey, listen, 2028 is coming. Vegas is not that far from LA.
Vegas ain't that far. There's some world-class things right in Vegas.
They want perfect conditions. They want perfect conditions.
We're striving to get complete as much as we can before that, because we recognize that LA is an expensive place to live. But why not come and live and train here and get be in this environment and be adjusted and then go right down there. So we've been approached, like I said, by some of the governing bodies who are looking for just that. So the support is tremendous.
You have the Olympic Village or the Z Village.
Let's do it.
I'm going Z Village.
No cardboard boxes at the Z Village, baby. Real beds and air conditioning, damn it. And not only plant-based. I'm sorry. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Dave, do you have any last words before we jump out of here?
In my time as a fan of track and field, I never thought we'd be at the point where we'd be talking about an indoor 400-meter facility in the U.S. With the capability of a 200-meter track inside with multiple pits where the athletes can go, live, train, get doctors, actually be pampered. Actually, you know what? Be treated, feel like athletes from every other sport for a chance. That is the most amazing thing that you can give these athletes, is to make them feel like all the work that they put in and sacrificed, someone's noticing and someone's paying attention. And there's positive consequences for all the work that they put in, because these guys bust their ass and they get nothing and nobody cares. And we've seen people open their fridge on our show with nothing in it, DoorDashing at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're second in the U.S. trials. But they have to do that. Like the second best athlete in an event has to go through these things. So what you're doing, if this comes to fruition and you can have success here, which I'm certain that it will, and then branch out to other parts of our country and have multiple teams with multiple villages and open up places for these athletes to go and just live out their dreams like every other athlete has that chance to. It's absolutely magical. Like I'm so emotional about this.
This is great.
Because you just see, we've had interview after interview of the struggle, and here comes Zig, this man who, I'm sure money is a thing and everybody wants to make money, but that's not your main goal. Like it seems genuine that you really care. And I just think back to every interview that we've had with these athletes and saying, hey, you know what?
Wants to listen to.
There's going to be a place in a couple of years where you can go and you can maybe live or
your kids or your friends' kids or someone else that's deserving of it. And
I'm not going to lie, I was very skeptical. You can ask Alex. I was texting him today. I'm like, really? Like,
he's like, I hope he just doesn't come on here and promote things. Like, no, it's great.
No, but meeting you has been an absolute privilege. And I have genuine hope and genuine excitement that this venture is going to be extremely successful, mostly for the athletes, because that's what I care about. That's where I'm coming from.
And meeting you, we can understand why the investors are putting their trust in you, number one. And, and I just want to say, my last words. Number one, this is our longest episode, 2 hours, and we appreciate everybody that's been watching. We love it. Thank you, Zig, for giving us this time.
Thank you.
You've given us 2 hours of your time. Everyone watching on X, YouTube, Facebook, we appreciate all you. I'm not going to ask you to do anything else at this point. The viewing has been amazing. We love it all. And I just want to say, parroting off what Dave said, this is one of the coolest undertakings in track and field I have ever seen. And we all say, we talk about not about the money, but if you're doing the right thing, your heart's in the right place, and you deserve it. It's not something you would deserve to be taken care of for the rest of your life and have your generations because of something that you built, something that you're doing, something that's so important to the fans of this show, the fans of the sport. And I mean, like I said, anything you need from us, any small part that we could play, we would love anything. Thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. And like I said, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Once again, he's Zig Ziegler, sports kinesiologist, CEO of Z Athlete Factory. We're talking in ovals. We'll be back next week at the Great Show. Thank you so much, everyone that has stuck with us. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Spread this word of mouth. We'll be back with more fun stuff next week.